So hello everyone, I'm back again, and this is because I noticed a lot of people had difficulty still with graphing a quadratic, i.e. a parabola, that U-shape without the table. So they started off with a blank table, and the first thing that we see is a space for us to solve. So different than what we did on 10-2 and 10-4, we're gonna solve this quadratic that was a part of our original graph statement. And we're gonna solve it. You still wanna do is identify A, B, and C. That's like our favorite go-to. So A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2, and C is equal to -8. Then we're gonna draw our X. Remember, for the top of our diamond, it's always A times C. So 1 times -8 will be a -8 at the top, and B goes at the bottom. We'll have our fractions, and it's always AX. You can put 1x, but please understand that x and 1x are the exact same thing. So now we just need to figure out what are our two numbers that we can multiply to get -8 and add to get 2. A little factoring review tip, I'm gonna go over the factors of 8. So you can use that pink sheet to help you. So factors of 8 are 1 and 8, and 2 and 4. When our top number is negative, we want to look for the difference. So we want a difference that is a factor, one of these pairs, that's difference is only 2. What I mean by difference, if I'm on the 1 spot of Monopoly and I move to 8, that means I move 7 spaces, so it has a difference of 7. If I'm on the 2 spot of Monopoly and I move to 4, that means I move 2 spaces, so it has a difference of 2. Therefore, the two numbers I'm going to want to pick is 2 and 4. But wait, there's more. 2 times 4 will not give me -8. So if I'm confused which one becomes the negative, if the 2 is positive, my bigger number has to be positive. If the 2 was negative, my bigger number would be negative. So since this 2 is positive, I want the 4 to stay positive, so my 2 would be the negative. So now that we've factored, we have to set them equal to 0. So our product would be x minus 2, and our second product would be x plus 4. Still equal to 0. We're going to set both of those terms equal to 0 and solve. So x minus 2 equals 0, add 2 to both sides, and I get the answer of x is equal to 2. So that's one of my answers, and this is going to help me. Might seem like more work, but this is really important, which is why I wanted to make this video. And then x plus 4 equals 0. I want to subtract 4 from both sides. That'll give me x is equal to -4, and that'll be another area, or another answer for our x. So here's some important things just to kind of help you bring in the whole concept from this unit. We factored to get the zeros, and the zeros are x-intercepts. So between the two numbers, +2 and -4, which one would be smaller? It would be the -4. But I don't just want to start my table at -4. I like to go a number before just to make sure I can see the whole U shape of the parabola. So what's the number before -4 when I'm looking at my x-axis? -5. So I'm going to plug in -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And now I have all the numbers I need to complete the process. But wait, it gets even better. Because we know that 2 and -4 are our x-intercepts, I already know at -4, this is 0. And I already know at 2, this is also 0. So my table is already starting to fill out. And I also know my x-intercepts are -4, 0, and 2, 0. So just by factoring alone, we have pieces of our table completed, and we now know our x-intercept. One thing that we've identified that people may or may not remember is the number at the end of our graph will always be, no matter what we're graphing, our y-intercept. So in this case, C, or the number at the end, is -8. So that means my y-intercept is also -8. So I can answer this question. I now know my y-intercept will cross at -8. And these are all points that can help me along the way. So I've got negative 4, 0. I've got 2, 0. And I've got a y-intercept at negative 8. Now, is that enough information for us to see our u? Absolutely not, but we're going to plug in our numbers. So let's start with negative 5. In our calculator, anytime we see x, it is important to replace it with parentheses. So for our first number, we are going to replace x with negative 5. So in your calculator, it needs to be parentheses, negative 5 squared plus 2 parentheses negative 5 minus 8. That will give you an answer of 7. You don't need to do negative 4, so now we're going to go to negative 3. Remember to use those parentheses when we plug it into the calculator. So you should have gotten the answer of negative 5. So once we plug in negative 2, we'll get the answer of negative 8. And when you plugged in negative 1 into the calculator, you should have gotten negative 9. It is important to look at our output because it will give us the pattern. So notice our output goes 7, 0, negative 5, negative 8, negative 9, and then it goes back to negative 8. Once we see the pattern, we know what comes next. After negative 8 will come negative 9. After negative 8 will come negative 5. After negative 5 was 0, and after 0 will be the number 7. We now have enough points where we should be able to plot and clearly see our problem. So now that we've plotted the points on the parabola and made the U shape, we have enough information to do our last 2 steps. So this is a combination of what we've been working on with graphing. So we have our vertex. Our vertex can be a little tricky to see, but it is very helpful in making sure that we understand. Our vertex is either the highest point or the lowest point. So in this particular case, we are looking for the lowest point of our parabola, which is down here at the very bottom. That point is going to be negative 1, negative 9. And our line of symmetry is the point that cuts through the graph. So if we think about dividing this U shape in half, we would draw a line right through the middle. And where would that middle be? It would be right here at negative 1. So when we talk about our line of symmetry, it's always an equation. Well, we know what kind of equation this would be for a vertical line. That always starts off with x equals. So in this case, our line of symmetry is x equals negative 1. And that IXL that we did, BB1, had these same questions about maximum, minimum, vertex, and the line of symmetry if you need additional practice. So hopefully this is more than enough information to help you review and prepare as our final exam is less than 2 weeks away. And I know this could be a difficult problem, but I wanted to make sure everybody knew what they were doing. If you have any questions, feel free to see me at any time. And thanks for watching, and hopefully you guys do good.